Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 99th episode of the Manor Podcast. I'm your co-host, Roger Bodee, joined as always with my best friend and other co-host, Michael Hamilton. Michael, it's time. We're going back. I'm rich. Everybody's going to want my foil Heaven's Claws now. We're going to Rosetta, baby. It's a lightning action. Everybody's going to want this. Lightning Wizard's going to want this. You're going to pitch this to your channel Thundersteps and your channel Instant Aura thing to deal extra damage or drama. Look at this card. It's like, it's time. $100 is my starting ask. Will you pay it?
No, I'm not. I don't care that much about the aesthetics of my cards. I will be playing with non-foil Heaven's Claws.
Well, if you don't already own foils Heaven's Claws, it's too late. They're all going to be $1 billion soon.
Mm-hmm.
We're going back to Aria. It was announced. I'm excited.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine it not being about $100 with how pretty that card is. So it makes sense.
Yeah, if we're just going like objectively, it's priceless. But you still got to sell what the market demands to sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know who knows all about buying and selling cards to market demands?
Is it our sponsor, The Realm Games?
It is the sponsor of the Realm Games, where they'll be buying and selling lots of pieces of cardboard this weekend at Origins Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio. So we hope to see you there playing Alpha Clash with us. I guess you'll also be there playing Star Wars Destiny, but I won't be playing that game. Just Alpha Clash for me this weekend. Thank you very much.
Not Destiny. It's the new Star Wars game. Unlimited?
Oh, yeah. With Star Wars.
I think it's called Unlimited.
Yeah.
I know it's a U. I think it's Unlimited.
I think it's Unlimited as well. I have unlimited no interest in that game at the moment. So
that doesn't make sense. Unlimited no interest.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like very limited interest.
Shiny. Ooh. Okay, what are we talking about this week?
So I think the main thing is we had nationals last weekend or over the weekend, right?
Yeah, and we finished 10 places away from each other.
Yeah, we both cleanly met our goal for sure of sliding into the top 64 for a min cash of $250. That was what you wanted to do when you went to nationals, right?
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do. Whenever I show up to a tournament, I always say to myself, I really hope I'm playing this tournament to min cash.
Yeah.
If I can just slide into a min cash, all of my time and effort and wants in the world will be satisfied and fulfilled, baby.
Yeah,
it'll be great.
You get to almost break even and spend a lot of time with your friends having fun, right?
It's still not even close to almost break even. It was like pays for my flight.
You got juiced on the flight. I forgot.
Yeah. But you got juiced in the hotel so far. I haven't given you any money for that hotel, so
I booked it with the company, the
podcast account. No, I got juiced.
I told you that when I booked it 2 months ago or a month ago.
I thought I was being sly. I was like, aha, I haven't paid him yet. You could have billed me. You could have been like, Roger, I need money, and I would okay.
Send me money. Don't check our bank, our podcast bank accounts.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad I don't owe you any money for the hotel then. That's sick.
Yeah,
I opened up some cool pieces of cardboard. Those are probably worth money. I have a prismatic stamped or a foil stamped prismatic ley line. That's got to be worth at least if this foil Heaven's Claw is worth $100, that's got to be worth $100 too. That's a Majestic.
Yeah. It's a very, very commonly played Majestic. Everyone's clamored for their prismatic ley lines.
I played 2. I tried 3 in the Battle Hardened, but unfortunately 3 is too many to put in your deck, I think. But 2 is the magic number that's right for new.
2 for new?
Yeah. Because what's nice about it is that everybody's packing their snags, or you have this Codex of Frailty card in your hand and you want to play it, but then if you have an attack reaction, you can't Codex of Frailty and have your attack reaction. But Prismatic Leyline, you just get to play it, and then you get to attack with Surgical Extraction for 7 points of damage, and your opponent's like, that's too many points of damage to be attacking me with the Surgical Extraction, and then they have to block with their whole hand. It's sick.
How often is that better than blocking 3 with Prismatic Leyline and just codexing back a CNC or a red card?
It depends on the situation, because there's a lot of turn cycles where if you're doing your thing, you will have just meaningfully disrupted your opponent to the point where their turn was just pass. Like
Mhm.
that's just what you're going to be doing a lot of the time. So you also want cards that you can just like cast and get rate out of. So yeah, you can just. I did block with for 3 with it a lot. That's I won't say that I 100% of the time I drew that card, I cast it and did surgical extraction for 7. I'm just saying in the spots where I needed to use my hand efficiently after having meaningfully disrupt my opponent and needing to keep meaningfully disrupting my opponent, it checked that box nicely.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it seems like a good card. New wants to be attacking with blues a decent amount, and it's +3 value on blues, and it blocks
Mm-hmm.
3, and 3 on offense, 3 on defense. Sometimes 4 on offense. You were playing Scar for a Scar also, so if you lead with Scar, then you can get
I did
+1
that
on the
play. I
Scar.
did that play a lot, baby. It was sick. It was so good, dude. You just get to play Scar for 5, and then you play Prismatic Codex, and then attack them with some other thing, and that's a pitchless hand. You're basically like, you don't even need to pitch cards for that line. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
But enough of that new. You didn't play new. You played Enigma.
Yeah, I did. I played uh what actually ended up being very similar to the build of Enigma that I think most of the Enigma players there were on outside of the Wolf Pack, but um we had a very attack focused Enigma deck trying to generally play lots of strong disruptive attacks and the high value attacks that Illusionist has access to. Phantasmaclasm being the main one, though other teammates were on Spears or Miraging Metamorph or both, I think. But I was only on blue Illusionist attacks other than the red Phantasmaclasm, and then I was playing CNC and Weakest Link and E Strike, which doesn't really
It's
fit the
very
same.
disruptive. Very disruptive, that E-Strike.
No. E-Strike is for it does the same thing as the prismatic ley lines in your deck, where when your opponents like have a bunch of cards, you're like, oh no, what do I do with all these cards? That's what
You
E-Strike.
Prismatic Leyline E-Strike for 6 go again.
Yeah. I guess that's an option, but uh, yeah. So I had a really good day one. I was on top of the world. I went 7-0. It was great. We won 4 games of constructed, and then won 3 games of draft, and then I went to bed and couldn't win the game the next day.
Yeah. I fell apart in draft. Drafty do is my Achilles heel. I went 3-3 in draft, 1-2 day 1 and 2-1 day 2. And I sat down in my draft pod after being X2 because I was like, X2 is like, I basically have to win out. I have to have like a borderline perfect day in order to make top 8, which is the real goal. Whenever I played a tournament, believe it or not, it's not top 64. It's to
Not
top
in
8
cash.
and or win. Yeah. But so I was tempted a good amount to drop and play in the calling, but I figured the draft started at 9. The calling didn't start till 10. I had enough time to at least draft my deck and decide. And I sit down in my draft pod. I'm at the top of X2 since I lost just like the last 2 rounds of the day. My breakers are already good at that point, so I'm with a bunch of X1s as well. And I open up my first boosty pack, and there's a Manifestation of Mirror Guy in it. And I was like, looks like I'm staying in Nationals, so I take that, and then I get past a Restless Coalescence in pack 2. So I have 2 Broken Majestics in my deck, and I easily steamroll my first 2 rounds. Fun fact about the first round of draft, I have played so little with like the new and like illusionist cards. That was my first time playing with Manifestation of Mirror Guy. I
Mm-hmm.
thought it also had double ward equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So it had 4 counters on it as it does. So I was like, okay, cool. This is going to prevent 8 points of damage. This is sick. I'm going to prevent so many points of damage from this attack my opponents attack me with because they were attacking me for like 6 or 7 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, cool. So this is going to eat this, and my spectral shields are safe, and we're good.
Oh
And then
no.
instead I lost all my spectral shields, and then I called the judge and I was like, Judge, I don't know how my card work. I have the moon chakra card. Can I play this, please? I want to keep my spectral shields, please. And the judge was like, nah, you're bad at this game, and we can't rewind this on day 2 of Nationals because new information was gained, and you learning how your card work is technically learning new information. Was the judge.
And you won that game, right?
Yeah, I still won. Because I had already attacked my opponent with a mirror guy for 8, so he had to take like 14 damage in order to keep a full grip of cards to meaningfully pressure me to get my mirror guy off the board.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, the game was like 6-20, and so then they spent all their damage, all their resources clearing my board, and I was like, oh, I still have this red waxing specter, and then I also transcend and put in another spectral shield and attack you for, oh, you're at 6 points of damage. That's a good life total or number to be attacking you at. So I won that game.
It's really rough when you get low against Enigma, because like the common play pattern is she makes auras and you're like, I really need to kill those auras. I'm going to keep my whole hand. But when you get low, you just can't. You can't keep your whole hand unless you want to just let the attacks kill you, and then you can keep your hand and take it to the next game. But
yeah,
being at low life against Enigma is really rough. So
yeah. And then in the final round of draft, I lost to Andrew Rothermel. He's good at Flesh and Blood. I got to, I don't know what the odds are, but it was a very niche situation. I probably could have played around it had I wanted to play around like a very niche 1%er, but like I didn't think about it explicitly at the time, and the setup circumstances were just so unique that I think it's kind of results oriented to even consider it in the first place. But I don't know.
What was the story?
So Andrew, I went to 1. So I was at 7 life total points. He attacks me with red fact finding mission. I go to 1. I flip over this koi chest, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this card. And I go get a chi out of my deck. I pitch chi to play Manifestation of Mirror Guy. I then play another Transcend card, make a Spectral Shield, and then I have 2 resources floating and a red card in my hand. And I can either just play the red card and Arsenal the Waxing Spectre, or it's like a red illusionist aura. Or I could play the Waxing Spectre, pitch the red, and attack Andrew when he's at 4 life total points.
Mm-hmm.
So I play the Waxing Spectre, attack him for red with the red, so I'm out of resources because I also have the attack reaction gloves to deal an extra point of damage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the +1 counter ones. I just have the attack reaction ones. So, but I don't have any resources, so that option is not available to me. He blocks with hat. He goes to 1, and he flips over his koi chest. Gets a blue out of his deck, and lo and behold, he had an all red brick hand with a million go again attacks and lots of things to do, provided he had 1 blue in his hand. And I gave him that blue, and he was able to go just wide enough to clear my board and deal the last point of damage to me when I drew 2 chi cards.
Oof. So what was your red aura that you could have played?
What's the?
It's like, was it Ward 2, Ward 3, or Ward 4? I guess
Ward 2, I think.
Ward 2.
It was like the Ward 2. If it's the only one, it gets all the +1 counters or whatever.
Oh, single-minded determination.
Yeah, I think it was the red single-minded determination.
Okay. I was like, if it was like Sigil of Solitude or something, I would jam that and Arsenal my Waxing Spectre, just like kill him the next turn. But
yeah, it was only Ward 2. Yeah. But what would have been nice about arsenaling the Waxing Spectre as well then is then I then could have also deployed that with the chi to have the extra source of prevention on top of the Ward 2 then that I would have had floating.
Yeah.
I think it's a little resort, like I said, it's like results oriented to think like, oh, well, if I draw the double chi hand after I pitch the chi and get this chi out of my deck, and I, a lot of like so many like small little things had to go wrong for me to lose that game. But that's just what happens sometimes,
Yeah. Sometimes a lot of things go wrong. But
sometimes a lot of things go right.
Yeah.
But sometimes a lot of things go wrong.
Yeah. True. So
let's talk about. Oh, go ahead.
I got one more story I want you to tell the podcast before we talk about my nationals. You had a very nice play on stream, I believe, at the beginning of, it was a day 1 draft.
Yeah, so day 1 draft, I train wreck my draft pod. I'm like the 4th or 5th Zen, or 4th Zen in the pod. I'm sandwiched between 2 Zens, and like
that's not a good spot.
I should have just known. So basically, the person to my right passed me all the Zen equipment, like picks 6 and 7, pack 1, and I was like, okay, so I got a bunch of good Zen cards, and then I just got Zen's equipment, and Zen's equipment is so good, like the hat and the shoes, and I was like, there's no way somebody's passing me this quality of good Zen cards and the equipment so far. And then lo and behold, later they're telling a story. They're like, yeah, and then I switched into Zen, like pick 8, pack 1. And I'm like, oh, okay, of course you do. Why wouldn't you switch in after passing me all the goods? And then the person to my left was also Zen because I couldn't take all the good ninja cards while I was taking the equipment as well out of these packs that were very good. So it was just a train wreck draft. My draft deck was atrocious, and honestly, like I probably could have 2-1 with it had I won the dice roll in the last round against the like the other bad Zen deck in the pod.
Mm-hmm.
But I lost the dice roll and just kind of got smushed after leaking only 1 point of damage on turn 0. But I think 2-1 was definitely that deck ceiling, so I wasn't too upset about 1-2ing with the deck overall. Especially the one win that I did get, as you're alluding to, though, was against Pat Eggsy, round 1 of draft, where I was still undefeated, still had hopes and dreams of not min cashing, and we get really late in the game, and basically my hand is like 2 bad yellow ninja attacks and 2 bad blue ninja attacks, and I'm at 3 life total points. And Pat attacks me with like some red stealth card. I forget which one. For 3. I know 100% that his arsenal is a Fang Strike because he cracked the assassin gloves. I forget what they're called. Arousing Wave, like 2 turns earlier with a floating resource just to be efficient, and then arsenal the card. Because he still has pick to pieces in his deck, and he wants to be able to efficiently pump his pick to pieces +2 with that reaction later on once he draws them. So he knows that I know that he has the +1 power attack reaction in arsenal. So I have a face down chest piece of equipment, and I have my ninja shoes. So I just I think for a minute, and I'm like, I look at my damage in my hand. I'm like, I could block and like present like 6 points of damage. Pat's at 7. He doesn't even owe me any cards from his hand, and I'm just dead. Like I'm at 3. I'm at 3. So any like red attack reaction kills me. I don't have defense reactions in my deck. I don't really have any like. I don't think I have any winning lines in my deck if I give him a card. So I just slide my boots in front of the attack and block for 1 and say, okay, so if you play the Fang Strike, I flip over my chest, prevent 1, and we're good. We move on. So he thinks I'm just there shuffling my cards. I'm just shuffling my cards, and then I'm like, he's gonna play the reaction. I'm gonna look like the biggest idiot in the world and just die on the spot here. And eventually he says, okay, pass. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I flip over I go to 1, and then on my turn, I flip over my Koi Kimono, get a blue out of my deck, play a 7-card hand, and then put him to like 1 or 2 by the end of the turn cycle with all my mopey horrible attacks, and kill him on the next hand after he draws in his chi, one chi in his hand. He finally draws a chi, attack him for 4. He has 1 block 3, and he dies. I'm like, we got, at least that was the like. It's not often in Game of Flesh and Blood where you even get like an opportunity to like bluff, because like most of the time either you know something or your opponent like knows something. Like it's a very asymmetrical amount of information usually.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this is still some amount of asymmetrical, but like just the opportunities to bluff like that. I don't think I've ever played a game where it's like really come up like that. And it was just a really cool spot that got to come up. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hearing the story, it seemed like you were like basically pretty dead if you block with a card. So you kind of just like were like, well, hope he doesn't kill me and block with your shoes. And it seems like a really good play to me. So it was cool. And you were very proud of it and excited after. So I wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to share it on the podcast.
Yeah, I think it's the best play, like individual play I've ever made in Flesh and Blood. Even if I died, I still would have been really proud of it. I would have looked really dumb because it'd been like, why didn't Roger block? And it just would have gone down as like, okay, Roger's dumb and bad at the game, which is still true. I just got lucky that this one particular bluff worked out. I think I posted to Twitter as well the next day that I think the commentators thought I just forgot about the Fang strike. Like they thought I am just an idiot or something like that was going on in the booth, or chat thought that. And it's like, no, I knew it was there. I have a memory longer than 3 minutes, believe it or not. And two, I bluffs like that, just like in poker, only work if your opponent's good. Where like you need them to be a thinking player to understand the situation at like enough of a depth of complexity that they kind of like get what's going on and can kind of like level themselves into those kind of decisions. So like if I'm just playing at like a Friday Night Armory or something like that, like my opponent's just going to play the card because they're just going to play the card.
Yeah.
You need, yeah.
I would also say, like, if you're playing at like a Friday Night Armory, then if you block with a 3 block, even though your opponent's pretty far ahead, like, Pat Eshke's not gonna like just like inefficiently use his next hand and not present as much damage as he can. So like you need to find like a window to potentially get back in the game by trying to take that risk. Whereas like at a random Friday Night Armory, it might just be like not worth it because you probably have more equity in the game anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So really cool niche spot. But yeah, love and respect Pat. He's a cool guy. Took it like a champ. And I still went on to very gloriously min cash the tournament after making the best flesh and blood play of my life. So,
Ooh.
You do what you can.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Did you make the best flesh and blood play of your life during the tournament?
No, I did not. So day one went great for me. I played round one in Enigma Mirror, where I think I was probably supposed to lose that game, but my opponent forgot to turn on the shoes when they pitched a chi, and I ended up being able to clear a board because of that. And then next round I played against an Uzuri.
Yeah,
the new matchup is very good for Enigma, and the Uzuri matchup is significantly better because you get to play your levels of alignment and your other broken blues. So, and then I played 2 close games against KOs, and one was close. One my opponent drew about as bad as possible. They drew like all reds and all blues and no blood rush bellas. So, but the other one was close. And then I drafted one of the best Enigma decks I've had in this format. Enigma is my preferred hero to draft. I started with Red Waxing Spectre, which is the best Enigma common, I believe. And then I second picked Red Spectral Manifestations over an Uphold Tradition to try to send a stronger signal of Illusionist commons being missing. There were 2 Illusionist commons in that pack, so if I took this Red Spectral, there would only be 1. And then I ended up still getting an Uphold Tradition. I got to fill out all my equipment slots. I got a second Waxing Spectre that draft. My deck was, and I got like a 5th pick Rage Spectre in pack 3. Oh, I didn't fill out all my equipment slots because I was missing boots. And then pack 3, pick 5, I was like scrolling through the pack, and I saw Aqualabs, which is not the ideal Enigma boot. Sometimes, a lot of the time, you'd rather just have the one that just prevents 1. But Aqualabs is like pretty good, and it's better in some Enigma decks. Though I'd say the other ones, the Kekoi, however you say it, are better in a lot of Enigma decks. Aqualabs is better in some Enigma decks still, and so I was really happy when I saw that. And then I flipped to the next card, and it's a Rage Spectre, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're taking the Rage Spectre. So my deck was very, very good. I 3-0'd with it, and then everything went downhill the next day. I drafted a pretty mediocre new deck. It wasn't horrible, but it was not great. There were 3 news in the pod. I lost round 1. I think I played kind of bad. It was on camera. It might have been the backup match. I'm not sure if it was actually aired or not, but I played fairly badly, where I had a hand early on where I had a pretty weak hand, and I could have used the hat, the Aqua Seeing Shell. I think that's its name. And I just didn't, and played a pretty weak turn instead of using it. And then the next game I played a new mirror off camera, and I kind of showed my being less experienced in this format, where I wasn't super comfortable drafting new. I asked my opponent to read some of their cards a couple times because I don't know which ones they're trying to banish. And they kind of jokingly said, have you played this format before? And I'm like, yeah, I sure have. But I managed to get that one. And then I got a draw in the 3rd round of the pod, where It was a really tight end game against Alex Vor on Zen, and it wasn't clear who was going to win that game when time was called. We kind of went through it after because we couldn't talk about it when they called time, and
Mhm.
it seemed like I was almost certainly going to win if we had a couple extra turns, but we didn't, and it wasn't as clear at the time. And I actually kind of wanted to take a second to talk about that because I feel like draws happen more often on camera than off camera,
They do.
and I was thinking it's not just about not being able to see the clock, which I think is a pretty big problem that you can't see how much time you have left in the round when you're on camera. There's also a lot of extra demands on players on camera. You need to mark your attacks with the attack power. You need to mark them with the go again tokens and stuff. And doing all that kind of extra stuff definitely takes more time than just playing the round off camera. And thinking about that, it's like it feels pretty bad to get a draw when it's happens because of some things that wouldn't happen in a normal game. And I had a similar thing at the Realm Invitational last year where I was playing against Sean Dalloway. I don't know how to say his last name,
Yeah.
but uh, he was playing Dromai and he was taking all his dragons and flipping them for the stream. And during his Swiss rounds, he just like not on camera. He's just like, "Is it okay if I leave my dragons like on the invoke side when we play?" And like his opponent just let it, but then you're less likely to go to time because you don't need to flip your dragons for the stream and mark your attacks and stuff too. And all it's we would have gone to time, or we did go to time, and he actually just conceded to me there. But I don't think it was clear that I was going to win that game either. I think it was like pretty up in the air, similar to this game. And I also don't know what the solution is because you want to have as good of a game for coverage as you can. You want all these extra markers. But if the players are going to be responsible for doing extra things that is going to take more time, maybe the rules need to be changed so that the players get extra time on camera or something. I don't know how it should be balanced. Or maybe there should be a judge that is marking all the attacks and the players just focus on playing.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I never thought about that before. Uh, there wasn't a round timer in the feature match area though, right? I think
No, there wasn't.
that. Yeah, I think that was something that we specifically said and wanted called out. And I think somebody donated me and Sant a tablet or something like that, and he's like, "Oh, I can do this now." And there was still no round time. Like, even if you said it's like not that big of a deal, I still think it's a pretty big deal to just be like, because when you're playing in a normal round, you can just look over at the clock and be like, oh, okay, there's like 15 minutes left. I should pick up my pace of play a little bit here. Oh,
Yeah.
there's 10 minutes left. Not only should I pick up my pace of play now, I should remind my opponent to pick up their pace of play a little bit now. Like just having that reminder that you can like look and see is like so critical for time management in a round. But I think your point about then also having to uh, not only like just do all like the little mechanics on stream, but you also kind of have to like play your cards more particularly. You have to make sure things are spaced out a lot more. Like there's so much like shorthand communication that you can do not on stream that you can just like fly and be like, okay, I'm going to do this and pass, or I'm going to uh block my equipment, and maybe you don't even put your equipment in front, but then you put the counter. Like there's just like things that you can kind of like shorthand with your opponent, like that just like shave off little bits of time here or there that like you just can't do on camera.
Yeah. Yeah. So I I have a lot of respect for Alex, and I think our game was. I don't think either of us were taking super long. It was just I was playing a mediocre new deck. We both had like 4 cards left in our deck when the game ended, and when I realized we'd been playing for a while, I asked the judge how much time we had left in the round, and they said like 4 minutes, and I was like, oh, we're just out of time. And then we played a couple more turns. They're like, that's time in the round, and I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And to be fair, I'm not like bashing Mansant or the production or anything like that. Like obviously it's a wonderful service. It's an amazing quality production, and it's still better to have coverage for these things for the exposure of the game. It's still a net positive. We've gone out of our way to, help coverage for events and things like that. And we're always perfectly happy to play on camera when asked. I actually don't think you can decline though. Now that I think about it, but anyways, just because something is good doesn't mean that it's can't be improved more, I suppose. And so that's kind of where we're coming at it from on this perspective.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't. I think that the damage dice and all the things they ask us to do, they make the broadcast a lot better. That's why they're doing it. It's not like it's pointless. It's not for no reason. It's just I think right now it is kind of detrimental to be on stream because you're more likely to get draws, and that's just rough. That's not ideal.
Yeah. This is a little inside baseball, I guess, but we were asked whether or not open deck lists were an issue because you were the feature draft on stream, and I think you said like that wasn't even a big deal. Where like theoretically, one of your opponent's friends or something like that could have tracked every one of your picks and sent it to them off stream or something like that, or your opponents could in between rounds somehow, I guess, like 2x 3x speed draft to see every single card in your deck or something like that. But I don't even think that that's that it's a slight competitive disadvantage, but I don't think it's, if I had to put like a percentage on it, like maybe 1 to 2%, maybe. I think it's very small.
Well, I do think there is an advantage if people want to go out of the way to do that, and I don't think it's like if Pat knew your chest was the
True.
other thing, your bluff doesn't work. You go from whatever your win rate was in that game of making that bluff to 0% if he knows you just like lose every time you make it. So I don't think there is. I think it's definitely negative equity, but I don't think we're experiencing that happening right now. And like maybe at some point the game becomes really like
Sharky.
where people are like doing that and having their friends go watch camera. I don't know. I don't think there's a good solution to that because I think it's a much better broadcast when you have access to the stream deck list. And at least the way the game is now, I think that having the best broadcast is worth that risk of that happening. And if that becomes a problem where like people are just knowing every card in your deck when they haven't played against you because they have that information, maybe then we address it when that starts happening rather than now when there's not even evidence that that would occur, I guess.
My thought would be if it becomes an issue or a concern, you can also just time delay the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they could have just ended day one stream after round 4, picked it up again in the morning, and done day 1 draft and then done day 2 draft. And then, because by the time they're finished covering and then rewatching all of day 1 draft, they have all of day 2 draft to go through, and then they can finish up Swiss and kind of like tie it up there. I don't know, but there are lots of ways to approach that issue even without having to rely on completely open deck lists for everyone in the pod because one person was a feature drafter. Like, yeah. I don't know.
I'm so like I want limited to be as successful as it can be. I think limited is like one of the best ways to play card games, and I do think that if you can't do limited live the same way you can do constructed, that's definitely a detriment.
Sure.
But
That's fair.
I also think there's a pretty big disadvantage to your constructed games being streamed too. It's like basically the same, right? If people know like your random tech cards and stuff.
Yeah, why don't we just have like 100% open deck list? Isn't that a thing in Magic?
It was to counter the downsides of being on stream. I don't know if it still is. I'm not really I'm not really involved in the competitive Magic scene anymore. I know at my second and final Pro Tour I played in Magic that deck lists were open for every round except round 1. Round 1 you didn't have to have open deck lists because there was no one had been on camera. But after round 1, every round was open deck lists, and it was a little bit weird. It kind of disincentivized bringing like a rogue deck because people knew every card in your deck when you sat down to play, which I think is a pretty big detriment. But I don't know if that's what we have to do to have coverage. I think it might just be fine to let people get an advantage from scouting because you can scout even not featured matches. You can just like look around while you're playing or after your round. You can look over at the table next to you and see what's going on. Or get up
Well,
and
I thought it was also a thing where like major players were like, okay, I'm scouting. Like okay, if you're not playing in this pro tour or you lose your first 2 rounds, you're on scouting duty now. Go around, watch other people's matches to figure out like what their lists are, what their lists look like. Put it in this Discord channel or this team chat or whatever, and so that way we can know that when we sit down across from player XYZ, we know we can just pull up our Discord and be like, oh, okay, they've already been scouted. We know their list. I thought that like I remember that being a really big thing in Magic the Gathering.
that's true. That's true. And that's part of why they did the open deck list as well. It wasn't just coverage. You're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Thankfully, Flesh and Blood community is way less sharky than that so far. So good job, us. And two, at the end of the day, you know what I'm realizing? There's no such thing as a perfect system. Yeah, everything's gonna have every like. There's gonna be downsides to anything you point out. Nothing. There's no such thing as a perfectly fair competition. Like it's just like you try to level the playing field as best as possible. You try to make things the most fair for the most amount of people, but at the end of the day, there's like these kinds of imbalances are just inherent to life, and they're just going to
Yeah.
happen, and like you just gotta be like roll the punches and be okay with it.
Yeah. It's fair.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the battle harden real quick?
Yeah. So I played the battle heart. We both played the battle heart on Sunday, right? You played battle heart.
Unfortunately.
Okay. I registered my same Enigma deck. I changed a couple cards. I lost round 1 to Riptide. That matchup is probably Riptide favored, and it's also you have to have a lot of game knowledge as Enigma. And like I said, I definitely was less prepared for this event than I've been for majors in the past. And I just, even though I had a few games into a Riptide player on our team, shout outs to Luke, who is a big Riptide guy. The build I played against was significantly different than Luke's deck, and I just wasn't really prepared to play against a more aggressive version of Riptide with less traps, and I kind of got ran over trying to play more defensively because the counter to them having a lot of traps is just not attack as much, so that they draw hands of traps, and then you just like command and conquer them, or you block out and then they draw more traps. So I got ran over by Riptide, and then I won 2 games, and then lost round 4 to Pat Eschke on Zen. Matchup's quite tough. He made a really good play where I basically attacked with a weakest link with 2 cards in hand, and he blocked for 8 when I had blue pummel, and I got blown out. So, yeah, well played, Pat.
Interesting. Good. See, good player.
He top 8 that. So,
yeah. So I somehow miraculously did not play against Enigma one time in nationals. My 2 classic constructed losses were to Azalea, where I put them on the play because I was like, I have a lot of D reacts. I have some good armor blocks on turn 0. If the on hits like particularly threatening, I have some Oasis respites floating around here. I'll put them on the play. It'll more than likely be fine. Sure, some amount of games I'll get juiced, but I still think more often than not, it had been my experience that it's been fine. And Azalea, I will have more hands than not that just kind of are just fine for me to deal with. And that was not the case. It was like 10 dominate. I didn't have any D reacts. Seek and destroy, blood rot, pox trigger on like an infecting shot. It was bad. So I took like I started the game at like 33 life with a blood rot and a seek and destroy trigger on me. So I wound up losing that game somehow. I don't know. It was weird. And then very last round, I played against the new mirror, and I had been destroying news all weekend, man. I was excited. I was like, huh, another new. I get to go out on a win. Maybe we can, if our breakers hold, maybe we can even top 16 still. I had hopes, I had dreams, and they had Razor Reflex in their deck, Michael. My edge, it was gone. Not only did they have
spreading.
Not only did they have Razor Reflex to actually be able to clear their arsenal, which you probably want to do that if you have Codex of Frailty in your deck, but they also had inertia traps, which were quite the blowout. So they had the extra set of defense reactions, and so they just had a lot of good tech. And the game was and it was also one of those things where it's like, I attack and banish a card off of your deck. Okay, red card, whatever. You attack and banish my specialization domain chi card off the top of my deck. Oh, that's not good. And so it was just a cavalcade of hilarious things going wrong, leading to a min cash. It's okay. We'll go to the battle hardened tomorrow. I still feel good about everything. Round 1, get paired into Enigma. I'm a little tired. I'm still waking up in the morning. I don't feel good about this matchup. Make like a small mistake early where like I close the chain when they have it that all you got blocking a dagger, so they draw back up, and like I was just like, that was dumb. Why did I do that? Like I didn't need to do that. And I just kind of got flustered, and then I wound up playing so badly. I think it's the first time in my life I've been 40 0'd.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've ever lost a match so badly that I did not deal a single point of damage to my opponent. And it's kind of dumb that Enigma can do that, huh?
Yeah, I'm having some flashbacks to when we were jamming Viscerai versus Prism, and we had some really not close games, but I don't think any of them I ended at 40.
I still dealt like some damage
Yeah.
to you. Like even if I got you to like 30, we at least had to change your life total at some point.
There are a lot of them
I get
that
to the
ended
end
in
of
the
that
high
match.
20s, but it's
I look at the end of that match and like my like total is just this down all the way down. I look to my opponent's side of the column, just clean. Just and I look back and I open my notebook the next round and I'm like, it's okay, we're going to a new game. And then I get paired against a Victor, and the game plan against Victor is just don't die, get to second cycle, and you will pretty much win the game because you will attack them with all their blue attacks for like 25, 30 damage in a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much they can really do about it unless they get a really hot draw and really just punch you with their cast homes, visit the Gold Main Estate. They gotta beat you down real good to win that game because it's happened. Like I've definitely lost to Victors in the past where they're like Command and Conquer, Pummel, Golden Sun, Dominate. You don't have the D react, take 6-7 damage, and it's like they can be a lot on top of all their might tokens that they can get now. But that wasn't the case. I was able to mitigate everything, block a bunch, play my D reacts, have an Oasis respite for their Command and Conquer turns, and yeah, managed to win. And then I get paired into a dash, and I hadn't played against a lot of mechs, and I think I made some mistakes during that game. I kind of didn't evaluate the game state 100% correctly, and it was just also one of those things where it was at the end of the game where I just needed to draw a hand that had like any disruptive attack, like just like something to force a block, and I just bricked the disruption on a key turn cycle, and then they were able to pop off and like get me. And so
they like max velocity that turn or something.
It wasn't max V. It was just what's the one where they get a bunch of action?
High octane.
It was a high octane turn, so they were able to like pistol me down for like 8 damage, I think, that turn. So
sure,
yeah, lost, and then I dropped because X2 meh.
Yeah, and then we played Team Sealed.
Ooh.
How long till the next Team Sealed calling?
Yeah. Where's our Team Sealed events? What the heck? It's been over a year. Last Team Sealed event we played in was freaking what's that? I can't even remember the name of that crappy city, but it was for outsiders.
Battle Hardened New Jersey?
No, it was in New Jersey. It's on that coast. It's not Baltimore.
It was Baltimore.
Was it Baltimore?
Yeah, it was the same city as the Pro Tour, which is Baltimore.
Okay, it was crappy Baltimore. Okay, so like they print the Team Seal Battle Hardened as a side event to a major Magic event, and the crappy city that people were complaining about being like rough and hard to get around and almost mugged in like the month before, and they're like, nobody likes Team Sealed. Nobody showed up to this for some reason, and it's like
also on the format that we had for a while,
and like you get 8 boosty packs because. It's for 3 decks, and it was just like, come on, like,
yeah, those were the lowest powered sealed decks I feel like I've ever played with.
So many yellows were cast.
We just couldn't finish our equipment suites in our 3 decks. We're missing a bunch of equipment. It was a lot of fun though.
It was a lot of fun, but yeah,
great coverage.
I don't blame anybody for not showing up to that tournament. In fact, but I think if there was like Team Sealed Mysteria or Team Sealed Heavy Hitters, like people would have been really hyped for that, especially considering people didn't like dislike Outsiders Limited, but I don't think it was particularly like loved, and especially the Sealed format in general was just completely, well, I guess literally maligned because there was a malign in that set, and you were just going to play Assassin with blue maligns or whatever color maligns you had and just block 3 infinitely because they hadn't imposed like deck restrictions yet. So Assassin was just free to be like, here's my 40 cards with block 3s. Good luck, idiot.
Yeah, and then to especially make that problematic, Azalea was quite bad in sealed, and Riptide, who
Was Riptide.
was the like if you were playing a sealed Ranger, you probably were playing Riptide, and because every game was about fatigue because Riptide had no evasion. That was his only win con, and you just put as many cards in your deck as you wanted.
Yeah. So
30 card
lots of
decks
good
are great.
changes. Yeah, 30 card decks. Keep that. Chef's kiss. Perfect change to limited. I'm glad somebody very smart and talented and handsome recommended that after Outsiders format. Whoever that person was, kudos to you. And yeah, more team sealed. More team seal, please, because we 4-0'd with Pheno Black. And I was the only person to drop a game with my new deck.
It was so fun. We were I as soon as we signed up, or not as soon as we signed up, as soon as we met up for the event, I'm like, Pheno, what hero do you want to play? And he's like, I'll play anything, but I'm definitely biased towards Illusionist. And I'm like, okay.
Shut
I also want to play Illusionist. so we sit down and open the packs, and he's like, you play Illusionist. I'll just be stupid new. I hate new, but I'll play new or something. And I start opening I start looking at the cards. I'm like, we got 3 Pathwell Travels. We got 4 droplets and 2 Tidal Surges, or 3 Tidal Surges or something. I'm like, what if I'm just hit him Enigma? And then I look and I'm like, we have 4 red Spectral Manifestations and 2 red Astral Etchings. We can play 2 Enigma decks. We can play Block Enigma and Punch Enigma. And so me and Pheno both played Enigma decks. Both of our decks were like very, very, very good. And you had like a reasonable new deck, I think. I think your deck was the worst of the 3 of ours, and we had 2 Enigma decks.
By far. That's why I dropped. That's why I dropped a game. I was the first person in the last round of round 4 to drop a game against Zen, who had a very good round 4 Zen deck dealing bajillion million damages, and I wasn't able to because news limited disruption isn't like real disruption. It's not like I had Siren's Call or even like anything real there either. It was just like attack with my stealth thing, intimate inducement.
Hey, you had a red Blanche. You had 1 disruptive card.
Yeah, 1 red Blanche. But it was like, just give me all your cards and just like fatigue you. Or I had 1 game where it was like red double trouble, 3 and then still 4 cards in my hand, and my 4 cards were just the blue and the 3 red reactions.
That was so funny. I took a picture of that. It was just like double trouble for 14 or something. 15 because 1 was a venomous spike.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. Sometimes you can do dumb amounts of damage when you draw that hand, but that hand was not very common. It was a lot of just attack. It was a lot of block, and then attack and intimate inducement and double banish and get my trigger and woohoo.
Yeah,
that was a lot of the games I played, but it was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And that was our weekend, except for Blood in the Clock Tower, which I 3-0'd.
I 0-3'd Blood in the Clock Tower. Was rough. This is what happens when you never get to be on Roger's team in Blood in the Clock Tower. You carry me in Blood in the Clock Tower, I'll carry you in Constructed or something. Team Constructed. I don't know.
Well, stop. It's a shame. We were going to be on the same evil team the first round, and they had to redo tokens or whatever. Yeah, that was sad. Yeah. But yeah, I 2-0'd as the Scarlet Woman. I got Scarlet Woman 2 games in a row, which was weird.
Who would that ever happen to?
Yeah.
That happened to me also. I was 2-0 Scarlet Woman.
And then I got the Flower Girl. Mm-hmm. And then I was very sleepy. And I remember, and apparently I thought the day was going to end, but I was very tired. I was like, I got to use the bathroom real quick.
So was that like 2 a.m? It
was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Apparently I fell asleep in the bathroom, and Michael calls me and he's like, are you coming back? I was like, yeah. I was annoyed because I didn't realize I had fallen asleep. It had been like 30 minutes. I was like, it's only been like 2 minutes, dude. What are you doing? I'll be right back. He was like, you were gone forever. I was like, sure, dude, whatever. And then somebody woke me up like 2 turns later, and it's like, Michael's evil. I was like, I knew it, and I voted him out, and I won.
Yeah, that was sad, but it was a good time. Then I actually think one of my highlights of the trip was Monday afternoon at the airport. We were in line where you had a box of Japanese Mistveil, and we were going to build team seals and just battle team seals because we've done that a lot of times, and it's quite a lot of fun. So I was ready to do that. And then we see, who did we see first? I think it was Nathan Crawford was the first one.
I saw Nathan Crawford.
And he was with the card guys, and we kind of waved at them. And then we saw the AGE guys, Chris, Alex, and Matt, and we're like, that's enough to draft. so we waved him down and like, do you guys want to draft? When's your flight at? And they're like, yeah, let's draft. And then the card guys were down to draft, and we got an 8-person draft pod at the airport before our flights.
Mm-hmm.
It was sick.
It was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Even if we were drafting it the tiniest we had to scrape together like a bunch of different tables from this one back section of this one like empty restaurant because everywhere else was like full.
Yeah.
But yeah, it worked.
And then I realized I don't know what the tide, moon, and wind cards look like on the different cards. So I was like, which one's this? Which one's this? And then
does it have a big moon on it?
And then,
it's the mood ones.
I got past.
Does it have a bunch of water on it? It's a tide one. Does it have a bunch of
how would you know? How would you
wind
know?
on it? It's the wind one.
And then I got past Aqualapse, and I'm like, this is the shoes, not the gloves, right?
Yeah,
it has a foot on it.
Foot on
yeah. You just gotta look at the art. That's the trick. You gotta actually see what's going on in the art. Because I always just like look at the art, but I never like mentally process it. I just like save the image in my brain. But I didn't do a good job with this set because I haven't played it enough. It's not super prepared, but
yeah. Now you know how I felt. Imagine doing that with like
week
days.
0.
Yeah, like week 0.
Yeah,
I'm thinking you're having the hubris to think you could play an entire calling against top-notch Japanese players with cards you don't understand.
Yeah, it seems tough.
Next world premiere, I'll play with my cards in English.
Well, fortunately, the next world premiere is in Florida, so.
Okay, you've convinced me. I'll play in English.
Awesome.
Any final thoughts, buddy?
I'm so excited for Alpha Clash this weekend.
Yeah,
be a good time.
I was looking at some Alpha Clash cards today. I was like, maybe I can last minute brew a deck, but I'm a little scared to play a deck that I have like actual 0 games on and testing. But maybe that's just the fun. Maybe that's the fun of it. Just show up with an untested random deck to this 40-50 person Alpha Clash tournament.
Yeah.
Just have fun. Have fun with it. I think somebody wise once said that. Play the deck you like and have fun.
Mm-hmm. Wait, that was me. Hey.
I thought it was you telling me what I said.
Oh, wait, we both said that. Maybe I got it from you. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to be throwing some blue cards, slinging blue cards. I'm excited. Blue cards used to suck, but now we got 1 mana Lin. It's so good. Put bounty counters on things. Get them.
Yeah. Well, the next time you're casting Lin, the Nanite Assassin in Alpha Clash, always remember